It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Welcome to the Divas That Care Network. I'm your host, Amy McKenzie, and today's show, The Wow of Women, features the remarkable journeys of women whose powerful and extraordinary choices positively impact other people's lives. I'm so excited to introduce our guest, Desiree Dennison. No, I didn't say it right, I'm sure. We'll get her to correct it for us. She's calling in from South Africa and has a lot to share. Let me tell you a little bit about Desiree. She has two beautiful children and has been happily married for over 13 years. She's worked as a paramedic for many years and then decided to get a degree in psychology. Desiree was determined to find the missing link to address depression. She now uses her emergency field experience coupled with her counseling experience to combine her coaching for a more effective approach to helping women take control of their depression. What a wonderful thing that you're doing. Desiree, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much. It's an honor.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. So, you know, we connect women around the world, and I realize that's also part of your intention is to really connect on a global scale and bring hope back to those who've lost hope. Let's dig in a little bit. You know, you are a mother yourself, and you've had quite a career. Things were going along fine, and then what happened? Because I know that this all came out of a challenge that you've overcome. Do you mind sharing that story with us?
Okay. Yes, I was working as a paramedic on the road, and the one thing that I always found really hit me quite hard was when the mothers would commit suicide due to their depression, especially after they gave birth, and they just couldn't get the support or feel like they can ask for support. Because, I mean, being a mommy, you have to know everything, right? There's lots of books and there's lots of internet, and yeah, we can Google almost anything, but getting the help that you need isn't always there. And yeah, it was just after I had my miscarriage that I went through depression, and it was hard, and I wasn't sure how to get over it, and eventually I found a lady that was able to help me, and through coaching I saw, you know, it does help, and I actually got over my depression with quite a lot of things through my study with psychologies and also getting the help I needed. The one thing is just asking for the help is so difficult. And
it is. We're really programmed not to. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's so much doctrines about psychologists, and yeah, it's difficult because why should we ask for help? I mean, you can just get help wherever. Everything is so fast-tracked. Everything is about time, and there's no time for this, and there's no time for that, and the kids must get sorted, and this must get sorted. So you don't actually get that time for yourself, and you lose yourself in the process.
It's true. I love the way you put it in when you wrote to me, you know, that we're supposed to be super moms, right? Like in the magazines and in the movies, right? And I love the way you put this. But in fact, we are in our own movie, and we are the leading lady. We have the leading role. And that's just a beautiful way to look at it, because it really brings home that we are writing our own movie, the movie of our life, with each choice that we make. And I was very touched also by what you say about, you know, you had dealt with so many other people before this happened to you. With, you know, that kind of work that you were doing, where you're seeing the impact on the children when mommy doesn't come home again.
Yeah, that's true. And they don't understand. they can't understand it. It's like, mommy's gone. Where did she go to? Why did she go? And
Mhm.
many times, even the husbands, they don't know how to compute because they didn't even know. Sometimes we just think, okay, you're married and they must just know. But men, we have to sometimes just tell them. And we think, okay, if I tell him, what is he going to say? And we're so scared of what we will be labeled with because we're so used to being labeled. And it's always negative labeling. There's so little that people just go out of their way and give positive labels on anybody. So yeah, it's difficult.
Well said. I hadn't really thought about it in those terms. It's hashtag label somebody something positive. I mean, it's everywhere. That it's it's
Yeah.
a really good point.
Yes,
and
because
for the
I
work
mean,
that you did, you saw it all the time. Yeah, go ahead.
yes, negative news travels fast. I mean, when you go to a new town, you hear, oh, everybody just talks so much. And I think it happens in every town that you hear that. And then I would usually say, well, I think I'll rather find out for myself. And
Mm.
because
Uh,
everybody just talking bad things, you never really hear all the good things. I mean, even if we look at news these days, everything is what bad's happening. How many times do you really get a positive thing on the news channels of something good that
yeah,
happens?
right. Well, and I think too,
So,
you make the point that earlier here that that we hide, that we're sort of programmed as women and all people, but it does seem to impact women more, where we have to put up the good face, the good front, that mommy's fine because you're carrying this huge responsibility for these young children's lives on a consistent daily basis, and so we tend to hide those feelings, and people may not even realize that we're in trouble, which
yes, and
apparently is where you step in, right?
that's where I would like to step in because I think there's even more. I think the one thing that really gets people is they're all like, how can I get enough time? But the thing that you actually should ask is stop being scared to ask, because there's this old saying of it takes a village to bring up kids, and I think we've lost that in society where we could ask for help.
We really have. It's true. I remember, I was a single mom for, raising my daughter, and that part I really felt, the difference it would have made to have a tribe of support. It really is too much to have all on your shoulders. And I think there's also, one, there's a fear of asking, but two, there's also a concern that if we acknowledge the depth of those feelings, we may not be able to get out of bed and do what we have to do the next day. It's like we're driven. And as you had said earlier, there's this point of no return. If we don't ask for help, it can become too overwhelming, and then it's past that point. What would you counsel listeners that may be in that moment right now in their life? I mean, what are the telltale signs if you're not quite present yet to the fact that this depression could really lead down a devastating road? What are some of the red flags that people might want to be aware of when they're trying to assess, their mental health, their well-being, let's say? Because there's nothing wrong with you if you're feeling overwhelmed and depressed. As you said, it takes a village, and it's gotten labeled to be some negative thing, which might be why people don't speak up. But if we take the case that we all have those times, what are some of the red flags that we could look for to say, you know what, if this is happening to you, please call me for help?
I think the main thing that we need to ask is even all family members to be aware. I mean, you won't always recognize the red flags yourself, because people would ask you what's wrong, and you would quickly say nothing's wrong. without thinking, we just answer, nothing's wrong, we're fine. Being fine, everything is fine. But deep down inside, when you actually sit down and you think, am I fine? It's that going to sit down and, well, somebody just asked me, am I alright? And I said, I'm fine. Am I really fine? Am I coping? What is wrong? What's the feelings that's going on deep down inside? Have they, in the last week or two, ever had a funny flash of, why should I even be on this earth? What's my need here? What's my reason for living? If you have those thoughts, it should already give you big red flags to speak up, even to somebody close to you. Just get used to the fact of asking for somebody to just sit and talk.
Do you think it's sometimes harder for people to talk to someone they're close to because of the fear that, we've gotten this to be such a taboo? To just feel sad is like a really bad thing. That maybe sometimes that's the problem, is people are afraid to speak to the people close to them because they don't want to have that taboo about them, that, so-and-so is always depressed, or she can't get over whatever. And, it's almost like when, even in the process of grieving, everybody's there at the beginning to support someone, and then a couple weeks later you're supposed to just be over it. But if someone's been married for 30 years, they say it can take at least 30% of the time you spent with that person, you could expect to be in the grieving process. So if you were with someone for 30 years, right, that's 10 years. I mean, it's not going to happen in a few weeks, but there's an expectation that you should be over it by now, right? Do you run into that with people?
Yeah, that was the first thing they would tell me, is that they tried to speak to their family and they were told, oh, just get over yourself. Just pick yourself up and go.
Wow.
Because that's what we should do. We should just pick ourselves up and go, because there's nothing wrong. But that's the main thing, is that's where you need somebody that's got nothing to do with your big family ties, when you really feel that, okay, there's really something seriously wrong and I really, really need help. That's when you really need to just sit down and think, okay, who can I speak to that can be an objective party in my situation? You need somebody as far away as from your family bindings and connections as possible, because you don't want them to know the whole story, because it's easier then for you to get the right help. And that's the one thing people have quite told me. People that even know me, they're like, how can you be so objective? And you need to concentrate, and there's always two sides to a story. And sometimes when you put the two pieces together, it's actually such a simple little picture. You just had to stand outside the picture to see the whole picture. And misunderstanding situations. You feel so misunderstood all the time. And that's sometimes when we get a bit overwhelmed and we feel, okay, what should I do? And that's when you actually start digging yourself deeper into a hole that eventually you cannot get out of.
Right. Well, I mean, it makes perfect sense, too, that we would be, reticent to kind of lay that out. I think in some ways, if you get a disease you can name that has a physical attribute, it's easier, because everybody can relate to, they can see what it is, or they, you have such and such, right? And so it's almost like you have proof then of having a complaint, right? When it comes to depression, you have nothing to show for it, and so people can easily assign you as, being whatever label they're going to put on that, which is probably not positive. And so then you can either then question your own sanity, right, or feel like you're not strong enough. I would think that the next direction is, there's something wrong with me, which does not help depression. So having an objective party be able to say, actually, no, it makes sense you feel that way because of this, this, and this. And honestly, it doesn't even have to make sense. It is how you feel, right? Okay, so let's say we have somebody out there that knows someone that's in that position right now. How could they perhaps reach out to you? I mean, you know, we can be across the world now and still help each other. And I know you lend yourself to that. And you do a lot of it for free, which is incredible, but nobody can sustain themselves on that. So talk to us about, you know, how someone could actually connect with you directly.
Well, I haven't set up a web page because a web page feels so impersonal to me. I like to personally, like, get to know a person. I'm a very much of a person type of, you know, I like talking to people. I'm a people person. And that's why I'm mainly on Facebook and I'm on Instagram. And it's easier to find my name. It's Majestic M Coaching and Counseling. So the thing is, the majestic comes from each one of us ladies. We are majestically created. So that's how I came to the name. And the mariposa is a butterfly. And we all might feel that we are so caught up, and then we realize, well, I can't get out. I can't become anything, you know. I can just give up already. But that's when I try and help and assist you to see that you're actually just caught up in your cocoon. I help you to break free and become the butterfly and see your own beauty. And
that's beautiful.
It's something that's always been with me since I started my psychology. I've always gotten the butterfly, and it was all building blocks and going through situations with people, and it's sad to go through it all with the people, but seeing them become the butterfly and actually be able to stand in front of the mirror naked and talk to themselves in the mirror, that seems so impossible when you start your coaching and counseling with me. But when you're finished, you can stand there and feel like this beautiful woman that you actually are. No matter what, you don't have to be the picture perfect person. But
right.
To stand in front of the mirror, that's a big thing for a lot of ladies. So
it certainly is.
You can stand in front of the mirror and you can talk. You can talk to yourself and you can feel beautiful, and you don't have to think, oh, you're just kidding yourself or things like that. You learn to not beat yourself up anymore, because a lot of the beating up comes from when you were born. You get labeled from people close to you, and a lot of people don't even realize how those labels have actually attached to all the depressing feelings that they're having.
Yeah, it's so true. And then suddenly you're living your life based on some idea of yourself instead of your authentic self. So you're really helping,
yes.
When you say that the image of bringing them out of their cocoon, right, is really bringing someone to their full potential, where they experience
yes.
themselves as their authentic self. That's wonderful.
Yes.
And this can be done anywhere, thanks to,
yes.
global communications. That's
great. You would actually think
now,
it's bad.
No, go ahead.
You would actually think a lot of people are angry at COVID, but I'm actually glad it happened, because it pushed me to actually go online. Because I've always had this image of helping women wherever they are, being able to reach out to any woman that really feels she just doesn't want to anymore, she can't do it anymore. And the internet has given me access to all of them.
Yes, absolutely, which is wonderful. And I know that you, because your heart is in service, that you're a little different with the way you approach this. I noticed in your information that you sent me that you'll even work with people to create a payment plan based on their needs, so they don't miss getting the help they need. That's really remarkable.
Yes, and that's the one thing also people think it's funny, but I try and motivate the people to try and pay something because I've realized that the ladies that I do the coaching and counseling with for free, they don't get the results as when they actually put something into what they're doing. They need to feel that
Hmm.
they're actually giving something because then they already feel better about okay, I am paying something for what I'm getting. And we first to say, okay, why would you ever give me anything for free? So then you already feel guilty and then you hold back. So that's why
Right.
I I try and say, it's not about the money. Yes, we all need the finances to be able to put food on the table and things like that. But it goes about you need to feel that you are paying for what you're getting. That way you will actually do the steps, you will do the action, you will take the action, you will take the steps, and you'll actually commit to becoming who you're supposed to be, the person you never even knew you could be.
It's so true. It's like that. It assigns the value, and if we go to the precept that money is energy, it's an exchange of energy, really, right? Identified in sort of a
Yes.
3D format. But if we have no energy invested, then we ourselves are not actually invested in our own recovery process. So that makes perfect sense to
Yes.
me. Um, yeah, it's so interesting how that works. Again, going back to psychology, but it's consistent in terms of in terms of everything I've ever experienced, myself included. I
Mm.
do value it more when I had to pay for it because I don't want to have paid
Yes.
for something and then not make the most of it, right? even
Yes.
even
Yes,
knowing
for sure.
that, yeah, it still holds true. It's so funny. But that's
Mhm.
wonderful, though, that you are willing to work with people where they are. So the answer is never no. It's let's see how we can make this work. And that makes it
Yes.
possible for anyone who needs help to reach out to you, Desiree. That's really an incredible gift that you're willing to do that. And I love that you took your experience, which had to be devastating, and you did ask for help. You did find
Mm.
someone who was actually successful in helping you. And then you saw, as you say, in what you wrote to me, when I realized I don't want my children to ever have to have that look on their face, to be the
Yes.
mother who left. I've got to
Mm.
win. And then you turned this around and created out of your past experience of being a paramedic, where you obviously saw some pretty tough stuff, and as a
Yes.
professional counselor, and put it together to deal with that sort of emergency level situation, to help somebody kind of step down out of that, or really step out of it, as you said earlier, so they can see the whole picture, which kind of can free
Yes.
them from that cocoon. It's wonderful. And I just am so inspired when people take something that difficult, get through the challenge, whatever it takes, and then find a way to turn around and give it back to people as a gift. It's a wonderful accomplishment. So I want to acknowledge you for that.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, and I so greatly appreciate your taking the time to spend with us. Perhaps you might share, one last gem with our listeners before we close out our show today. We'd love that. Any parting thoughts?
My main thing is just would like all mothers to please just reach out before you think of taking that last breath that you don't want to take anymore. When you really sit down and you get the right help, you realize that each breath that you do take is so, so important to your kids and to your husbands. And if you're going through bad marriages, I can help you with that as well. Uh, my marriage is very strong. A marriage that everybody told me is impossible to work due to my husband being older than me. But I have the happiest marriage. I have a strong man that stands behind me, that's firm, that I know that I can have the support every day. And it all comes with a lot of communication and also giving. And it's not always as bad as we feel at that time, where you just feel like you're not worth it. You're not worth being where you are. But there's a reason why you were put on earth. There's a reason why we are here. We are very emotional creatures as women, but we are worthy. We are who you're supposed to be. And I can help you find that person deep down inside. It seems impossible, but believe me, it is possible.
That's wonderful. Well, I'm glad you mentioned too about marriage and relationship. It's a similar process, I'm sure. When we can have the support to go through those steps without judgment, without negative labels, as you put it, and begin to turn that around through the eyes of another is what it takes sometimes to get that perspective, the big picture, as you put it. We really can turn our whole life around. And it is amazing when you get past it to think, wow, I would have missed all the rest of this in my life had I succumbed. And this too shall pass, right? Yeah. We bring back the joy, and you certainly are doing that with Majestic M Coaching. We'll have your links available on your page. Yep. People can find you through, your different social media outlets, and I encourage everyone to reach out to you. You have such a kind heart, and obviously also an expertise, personally and professionally, in this area to be able to truly help people around the world. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, Desiree.
Oh, thank you so much, Amy. I really appreciate it.
Well, you're making a huge contribution. And, boy, the world would be very different if everybody starts using positive labels. I'm going to take that one away with me.
Yeah.
Thank you
definitely.
for that.
Yeah.
Well, in closing, I really want to thank you, Desiree. Please pronounce your last name because I know I butchered it.
No, it was fine. You actually got it not too bad. It's Denison.
Denison, all right.
Yes.
Well, in closing, I want to thank Desiree Denison. All right. All the way from South Africa. We're so grateful to you joining us today and sharing your wisdom, your support, and reaching out your hand to anyone who needs it. I, of course, want to thank all of our listeners for making this show possible, and our producer, the founder of the Divas That Care Network, Candace Gish. Candace redefines the word diva to mean a courageously self-assured woman. Well, it doesn't happen by itself. So if you're not feeling that, reach out to Desiree. Ask for support. Ask for help. Together, we can grow much stronger. The Divas That Care Network offers women of all walks a platform for sharing their voice in the world, and we invite you to join us. Please visit divasthatcare.com. Hear more inspiring stories, and who knows, one of these days, perhaps you would like to add your voice to the conversation. We'd love to have you. That's it for today's show. Signing off until next time. Take care, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.